Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our virtual information session today. Wanted to introduce myself. My name is Mary Murray, and I'm a faculty member and co-director of the Master of Science program in Sports Medicine, along with Dr. Allison.
Hi, everybody. My name is Katelyn Allison. I am an associate director. I'm here in the department as well, and work with the program. And I don't know if Dr. Murray's going to give a little bit more of a background first off, but I do come from a unique background that my training was in exercise physiology before I pursued my doctoral work in rehab science. So I combine a lot of that research and expertise in some of the coursework in the department. Dr. Murray?
Sure. Yeah. So my background is in athletic training. I have been a certified athletic trainer for about 27 years, licensed in the state, and most of my coursework focuses on injury assessment, injury prevention, and injury related research.
And feel free, as we go through this presentation, if anybody has any questions or comments at any time, feel free to either post something in the chat, say something out loud, or you can raise your hand and we'd be happy to address your question.
So students who pursue a Master of Science in Sports Medicine will complete a 2-year intensive program. So it's a full-time program where we go fall, spring, fall, spring. And our program is focused on, like I mentioned, kind of injury prevention. We talk about pathokinesiology of orthopedic injury. We talk about assessment techniques, advanced assessment techniques. We do spend quite a good deal of time on research methods and equipment, and really finally focusing on optimizing performance for not only athletes, but military personnel. Some people call them tactical athletes, and really any physically active individuals. This program was created in 1989, primarily for the advanced athletic education of athletic trainers, but it has really evolved since that time. And our faculty not only have backgrounds in athletic training, but exercise physiology, epidemiology, and neuroscience.
So some of the really unique features of our program in particular are the opportunities within the University of Pittsburgh, and particularly our department, that includes state-of-the-science or state-of-the-art facilities and equipment. So what you see pictured in the top is the Neuromuscular Research Laboratory, which is the applied laboratory of our department. And so as a student in the program, you would have a lot of classes that have experiences in the laboratory, as well as the opportunity to participate in research that and assist with research that's actually going on in the lab. So a really unique opportunity there. We do have a small faculty to student ratio, so a lot of close mentorship and relationships that you build with the faculty. I'll turn it over to Dr. Murray for the next couple points.
Sure. We have had a consistent relationship with UPMC Health System, and UPMC stands for the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, which gives us some unique access to the facilities and to the individuals in that health system. So our team physicians and other specialists are coming to our classes, teaching some specialized lectures. They're in our athletic training facilities. They supervise our students in clinical internships. So we really have this unique and special collaboration with UPMC Health System and UPMC Sports Medicine in particular, that really provides our students some valuable opportunities. Our classes are interactive. These are just a couple of pictures from some of the classes that we've had. The picture on the right is of a series that was done of spine boarding, and this one in particular is spine boarding on the ice. Our classes also focus on, different clinical instruction as well as research. So again, our advanced assessment, the picture in the middle where they're learning some suturing techniques. And then our students also have an opportunity to present research at different conferences and symposia. Katelyn, do you want to talk about recently?
Absolutely, yeah. So our students have a number of opportunities to participate in research projects, whether it is assisting with an ongoing research project by a faculty member or developing their own unique research projects. We'll talk a little bit more about the thesis procedures later in this presentation, but the student pictured on this slide actually was able to complete an independent study at a laboratory within our school that had a special focus on exercise in spinal cord injured populations. So she was able to present some data at some conferences as well as develop a thesis project out of it. So that's just one example of opportunities our students have to really engage in research while they're here completing the program.
Oops, sorry.
So another really unique opportunity for our students, especially with the Neuromuscular Research Laboratory and our partnerships with Pitt Athletics and other professional teams throughout the city, is the ability to assist with performance testing. So it is the preferred laboratory for a number of different performance metrics, body composition, VO2 max, and other tests. So just really unique opportunity for our students to be involved with that as well.
This is our current second year class, and we just like to show this to prospective students just to show the variety of backgrounds, not only education-wise. So we do have some athletic trainers, probably about half the class is athletic trainers, and there are some that are not. And then just to show the varying undergraduate programs and other undergraduate institutions from where they came. So just to kind of show you the diversity there. And then this is our first year class. Again, varying backgrounds, varying undergraduate institutions represented in both of these classes.
So this slide presents some of the key faculty members that you will have experiences with as a student in the program. So first is our department chair, Dr. Kevin Conley. I teach several courses within the curriculum. So I teach research, seminar, and sports medicine, which is during the first semester, and the second in the series of laboratory techniques courses in the spring semester of the first year.
And I teach advanced musculoskeletal assessment and injury prevention. That's what all those letters mean there in the fall semester of the second year class. And then I teach pathokinesiology of orthopedic injury in the spring class. And what Dr. Allison and I both do is kind of supervise all of the students through their research projects. And, we do have kind of a course that kind of outlines that procedure as well.
Dr. Chris Conaboy teaches the first in the laboratory techniques series, as well as seminar and sports medicine. Dr. Mita Lovelager has a background in epidemiology and biostatistics, and she teaches a research methods and statistics course, as well as injury epidemiology. So before we move on from that, it's really great that our department has faculty with a diverse background, or it's a diverse level of background. So, within our department, we have experts in a broad array of expertise. So she is especially important when we look at study design and statistics for thesis projects as well. So we have all these subject matter experts under one roof. Dr. Sean Flanagan brings a very unique expertise in neurophysiology and transcranial magnetic stimulation. So students really take an interest in his research. He teaches some of the parts of laboratory techniques part 2, as well as seminar and sports medicine.
And Karthik Hariharan, he leads our anatomical basis of sports medicine course. And he is kind of the lead anatomy instructor in other courses in our school. But that course is a cadaver dissection course. And our students are fortunate that they have their own cadavers on which to perform dissections. So for our small class we have 16 students in our first year class, there were 2 cadavers for 16 students. Unlike maybe the PT program where they have a few more cadavers, but it's spread over 60 students. So we're very fortunate that we're able to provide our cadavers specifically for our sports medicine students to go in and dissect and prosect and study from. And this is very much a clinical based anatomy class. So the questions and the approaches are all based upon, clinical questions, activity related, musculoskeletal based anatomy.
So as mentioned previously, there are sort of 2 paths to graduation in this program. So the one course is the thesis track and the other is the non-thesis track. So as we go through the curriculum, you'll see that the first year for both tracks is identical. And as part of the curriculum, we give you all the tools and basically embed the process for creating a thesis project within the curriculum. So it's not something you have to do that's extra to the course. We prepare every student to know how to formulate a research question and how to generate an independent project. So with a thesis project, students do develop their own project. So it could be something that students might just be interested in, or maybe something that another faculty member is working on at the Neuromuscular Research Laboratory that they're interested in. But again, you don't have to come with an interest or a question. We guide you through that. And then the non-thesis track, a student will do a very deep dive into the literature surrounding a topic that is meaningful to them, but also clinically relevant or meaningful, and provide a really thorough paper answering maybe a clinical question that they can achieve by, summarizing the literature in that area. So this really outlines the program timeline. So as mentioned, the fall and spring 1 of both tracks look identical. And as part of research seminar, you'll learn all of the processes and procedures for developing a thesis project. You'll learn about all of the technology available at the Neuromuscular Research Lab and lab techniques 1 and 2. You'll learn about research design and biostatistics and research design and biostatistics. And then really where things start to branch off and become different are over the summer. There are no courses during the summertime between year 1 and year 2, but the expectation is that students continue to make progress on their projects. So Dr. Murray and I set up individual meetings with each of you, usually on a biweekly basis over that summer term, to set goals and to make sure that we're moving along the path, whether it's a thesis or a scholarly paper, to meet your goals for graduation. Then in the second year, there is a little bit more room for electives, and this is where you can kind of customize and individualize your education. So you'll see that there's room for an elective in both the fall and the spring term, and I'll let Dr. Murray talk about what some of those options are.
Sure. I'm going to go to the next slide, and did you want to come back to this one, or do you want me to just go ahead to the next one?
So we can finish, well, yeah, you can go ahead to the next one, we'll come back to it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so yes, this is where during those electives during that second year is where students have the ability to kind of personalize the curriculum. And we encourage students to pursue electives related to either your career goals or maybe even your research project, while keeping within the mission of the sports medicine program. And some of those options include, and current students are kind of taking some of these, a teaching internship, which a student would register for a semester teaching internship with another faculty member in our department. And throughout that semester, working side by side with a faculty member, and with that faculty member determining how many lectures or how many labs you're going to lead. You'll be creating or grading quizzes and exams, or supervising maybe practicum or practical exams. So it's not a sit on the sidelines and watch the faculty teach. It's really an opportunity to get real teaching experience. The clinical internship is a semester opportunity as well. And ranges from 1 to 3 credits. And these are usually initiated by the student. So unlike maybe some of the undergraduate clinical-based programs, we're not assigning students to clinical sites. This is an optional thing that students initially have conversations with their advisor saying, you know what, I'd really like to have more opportunity or more experience in this type of setting or with this particular person because of my career goals are X, Y, and Z. I can give you a few current examples that are happening. I have a student, we have a second year student who is doing a research paper on injuries in dance and performers. So a little bit more focused on dance medicine. He's actually doing a clinical internship with the Pittsburgh Ballet Theater this semester, working closely with their athletic trainer. And so that relationship has really helped him develop his research. And then he actually is also bringing what he's learning from his research to the clinicians there at the Pittsburgh Ballet Theater. We've had students work with our team physicians. We have one student who's wanting to go to medical school. And so she wanted more sports medicine related experience and observations. So she's working very closely with one of our head team physicians in the clinic, and she got to go into the OR a few weeks ago. And there are a variety of these types of semester-long clinical internships. And if anyone has any questions, I can go a little bit more deeply or give some more examples. But these are opportunities for you to kind of personalize and really capitalize on the opportunities that are here. There are courses in our department as well, focus on nutrition, performance. You can look outside of the department with approval by your advisor. Again, as long as it's kind of keeping within the mission of our program.
Okay, so going back to the timeline, the path to graduation. So during the fall of year 2, students will take injury epidemiology as well as advanced musculoskeletal assessment and injury prevention. And then in the spring, you would take seminar in sports medicine, as well as register for the 3 credits for either your thesis or your scholarly paper. So for thesis students, you would defend your thesis project in the spring semester and submit your final paperwork. And then the scholarly paper students finish up their papers. And then all students, we have a sort of research celebration day at the end of the semester where everybody gives a synopsis of the research that they've done over their time in the program. This slide just presents some examples of recent thesis projects. And again, you know, not many of these students had these ideas when they arrived on campus. These are ideas that they generated through coursework or just through conversations with faculty members. But you can see that they're very unique projects, and they all have, you know, some clinical relevance, and the topics were also important to the students that conducted the projects. And we should also mention that given, you know, the pandemic over the past few years, we were still able to, you know, mentor students through the thesis project, and swerving a bit, a little less in-person data collection and a little bit more survey research. So, you know, there's a lot of different opportunities and flexibility for different types of projects. So I'm not going to read through all of these, but just so you can get a sense, we had students interested in mental health, golf populations. I'll let Dr. Murray talk a little bit more about Emily Malky's project. She did a really unique qualitative project looking at expatriate athletic trainers, vitamin D testing practices, cervical spine proprioception and concussion, looking at acute chronic workload ratio in soccer players, looking at, we partnered with the sports dietitian with Olympic sports to look at how athletes are utilizing the fueling station. And then Cecile was the student I referenced on an earlier slide. So her thesis was generated from some of the data looking at high intensity interval training in spinal cord injured patients.
Yes, like Dr. Allison mentioned, Emily Malky's project was unique. She kind of came in here with a very specific idea, and we worked with her to you know, help facilitate this project that she was very passionate about. But she wanted to kind of understand what the experiences were for expatriate athletic trainers. There's not a whole lot of research done, not a lot known about those athletic trainers that practice abroad and kind of what happens to them and the challenges and the things that they experience. And so she did a Zoom interviews, and she gathered data on some athletic trainers, and her project was accepted for presentation at our PATS, Pennsylvania Athletic Trainer Society conference last year, NATA, and then was just presented recently at the Canadian Athletic Therapists Society meeting in October. So, we variety of topics that we really help students facilitate topics that they're passionate about.
All right, so this slide talks about some of the graduate student researchers at the Neuromuscular Research Lab. So just to give a little bit of context, mention that a lot of the classes and a lot of the lab experiences are with the Neuromuscular Research Laboratory. So within our school, there is a school-wide PhD in rehab science with different tracks. And so these students are the students that are in the sports medicine track of the PhD program and work at the laboratory as graduate student researchers, and they work closely with the faculty at the lab. So these students really provide great mentorship to our master's students, and potentially could get master's students involved with the larger projects going on, or even their dissertation research. So just to give a snapshot of who some of these students are and what their research interests are. So Felix Prossel, so he has a very unique kind of dual role, as he is in the PhD program, and he also does a lot of sports science with the men's soccer team. So he's really interested. He works with Dr. Flanagan with his neurophysiology research, and he's also very interested in wearables and strength and conditioning. Nicole Siegel has a large interest in bone health, so she's actually heading up a lot of our bone and body composition research at the lab. Patrick Peterson has a dual role working at the lab and with the Pitt football team. And so he's really interested in performance, strength and conditioning, body composition, a lot of wearable technology. Kellen Kudrowski actually just defended, so he's Dr. Kellen Kudrowski now. He will likely be replaced with an incoming person, but his research interests were biomechanics. He has a strength and conditioning background, and he did a lot of load carriage research during his time here and helped with our Department of Defense research. Alice Lagoy is also recently minted Dr. Alice Lagoy. So Alice Lagoy was actually in our master's program and went on to complete her PhD. So just wanted to point out that that is a pathway that several students have taken after completing their master's degree in our sports medicine program, had a really great interest in research, and were able to continue on and pursue the PhD. So she worked with Dr. Conaboy with some sleep and resilience research. And then Maria Canino is another PhD student who works closely with Dr. Flanagan with the neurophysiology research. All right, so to follow on, so some of the broad projects that are going on at the Neuromuscular Research Lab. So you'll hear the name Warrior Human Performance Research used sort of synonymously with the Neuromuscular Research Laboratory. And that's because a large focus of the research for the past few decades has been on the tactical athlete and the military population. So there's a legacy of research projects that have gone on, and there's research that is still continuing right now. And so a lot of this research looks at, what makes tactical athletes resilient. So what are neurocognitive and physical metrics to predict resiliency in the military? So some of the studies have looked at sleep loss, caloric restriction, and then effects on physical exertion and cognition. There's a lot of focus on gender integration into the military. So there has been research looking at the impact of integration of women into combat arms, since that has been recently allowed across the armed forces, and also how best to train women in the military. There are some newer studies looking at neurophysiological markers of resiliency in tactical athletes. and most recently looking at 3D body scanning and bone microarchitecture. So as mentioned, having state-of-the-science equipment, we have a high-resolution PQCT device that can actually look at bone microarchitecture and geometry. So in addition to our DEXA capabilities, we can really look at bone health across a variety of athletic and tactical populations.
So our admission requirements. We do require a baccalaureate degree, but it can be in a variety of different backgrounds, whether it's athletic training, rehab science, exercise science, etc. You can kind of see the list. It's not limited to these listed here, but these are preferred because of the courses that you have that kind of lay a good foundation. We do require a minimum cumulative GPA of 3.0, and we do not require GRE scores for admission to this program. We do, however, suggest that students complete a human anatomy course prior to enrolling in the program. And if it's been more than just a couple of years, or you're coming from a program where you've never really had a human anatomy course, you can reach out to us and we can kind of guide you what the best options for you might be based upon what's available to you at your university or maybe even a local community college. We just from our experiences with students, we know the students who have had human anatomy close to when they start our program do well in our anatomical basis of sports medicine. Because if you ask any of the first year students, they start dissecting on day one. They don't even wait, they get right in there and start doing it. So just having that prior knowledge more recently is beneficial, but again, not required, it's just highly suggested. We do have an early application deadline of January 15th to be considered for our scholarships. And we do provide some tuition assistance through these scholarships. And I was noticing I don't have a particular slide on this, so I'll just expand on it a little bit more now. For the fall of 2022, we're offering a teaching position within our department, a clinical position that would be at Chatham University, and that's through the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center Sports Medicine, UPMC Sports Medicine, and research position in the neuromuscular research lab. And so those positions have a tuition scholarship associated with them. And if your application is in by January 15th, you will be considered for those scholarships and you will be invited to interview for one of those positions. And there may be more positions once the new year comes along. Things with COVID are very kind of fluid and not necessarily predictable. So there may be an additional clinical position or there may be additional research position. But really, if you get your application in by the 15th, then you will be considered for one of those graduate scholarships. And then our final deadline for fall 2020 admission is March 15th. And yes, there's a teaching position within our department as one of those scholarships. All students will apply through GradCast, which is on our website. Included in there, and there's more details on our website, but there's a self-evaluation essay, 3 letters of reference, and your transcripts from all colleges and universities that you've attended. Even if you just said, oh, I had to take, I took a intro to psych class at a community college, that has to come as well. So all of those transcripts have to be included in your application. And then outside of the US, we need a course by course academic credential evaluation by World Education Services. And then if applicable, the English language proficiency scores. But more details are on our website.
All right, so what can you do with a degree in sports medicine? So again, this is a post-professional program. So students that come in with a clinical background can find positions in secondary schools or clinically in colleges or universities, in other academic or administrative positions as well. We've had a lot of students go on to work for professional teams or in sports medicine clinics. And students without a clinical background, as well as with a clinical background, have gone on to work in research positions, so at various research laboratories or universities. They've gone on to work in corporate or industrial settings, and we've had some students go on to work for the Department of Defense as well. And just to highlight a few of our recent graduates that are pictured here, and this is just a small snapshot of some of our graduates' achievements. In the top left picture, Christy Lee Coad had a clinical background. She was a graduate of our program from 2010, went on to work for a lot of Division I sport teams, but she works for USA Track and Field. This particular photo was at the International Track and Field Championships from 2019 in Qatar, and she also was an athletic trainer providing care at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. So tremendous, opportunities that she's had since graduation. You can see in the upper right is one of our recent graduates from 2020, works at Gannon with their football team. In the lower left-hand corner, now the new Dr. Brandon Crooms from our program, he had a background in exercise science, went on to pursue a PhD in physical education in Texas, and he just graduated with his PhD and is working in academia. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, we actually have 3 of our recent graduates who all represented different teams as athletic trainers providing care at the ACC cross-country championship. So we have Emily Hahn that works for Georgia Tech. We have Allison Ross with Louisville, and we have Indy Bricker who works here at Pitt.
This next slide just shows, the variety of settings where our students are employed. This is just the last 2 years. This is classes of 2020 and classes of 2021. Our students find a lot of success in placement beyond graduation, whether it's employment full-time or they're going on to further their education in a DPT program or medical school. Our students are very successful in doing that upon graduation.
And it was mentioned throughout this presentation, but if a student is interested in pursuing another professional health program, again, your curriculum can be tailored towards you meeting that goal. So we mentioned a student applying to medical school and getting more experience in the clinic, so that can be tailored to whatever professional health degree you want to pursue, or if it's a PhD, really honing in on that research aspect.
That concludes our presentation for today. We want to open it up to any questions that you might have. You can email us. Our email addresses are there. Dr. Allison is on Twitter, and she posts some program related content. You can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, see what we're up to in the program, what our students are doing. I'll probably be posting later today or tomorrow. Our students were going to do an event at what's called the Wellness Pavilion in a neighborhood in Pittsburgh. Our sports medicine students are going to be doing some things there, but we encourage you to contact us. But if open it up to questions, you can put it in the chat or just ask your question, unmute yourself and ask a question.
Maybe we can remove the slideshow so we can see everyone's faces.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, I had a quick question, guys. Thank you for your presentation today. But what does tuition look like for first and second year? Do you guys have program fees and stuff like that?
Yes, we do. We do have program fees. I can put the link to the tuition in the chat. I don't have the exact numbers on the top of my head. It varies between in-state and out-of-state tuition, obviously, in-state and out-of-state students. But there is sort of a flat fee for tuition, which allows students to take, which Dr. Allison was saying, which allows students to take beyond 9 credits. So 9 credits is what's considered full-time for a graduate student. So that if you were going to take an extra class, if you wanted to take something else, you could take it without being charged extra for tuition. So I'm going to get that link for you and I'll put it in the chat. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
I have a question also. Do you think that someone with like a chemistry background or biology degree or one of the non-recommended, like preferable degrees that you had up there could be successful in the program?
Yes, we have had students that have different backgrounds certainly be successful in the program. We definitely have some varying backgrounds, especially in our first year class this year. And we've had folks with bioengineering or completely different degrees come into the program and find success. We find that the students that are most successful have at least some of that requisite knowledge in anatomy, but then also sort of the passion to learn what it is that the mission of this program is. So a lot of the students that are the most successful who truly they're passionate about learning about injury prevention and just the information that is presented as part of the curriculum. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Any other questions? Well, if you think of something that you didn't get to ask today, please feel free to reach out to us. And please, again, follow us on our social media channels. We provide lots of updates about what our students are up to and what our alumni are doing. We look forward to hearing from you. And again, please reach out if you need anything from us.
Thanks for attending, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I actually thought of one last question. So I had a question was like, say that someone attended like a graduate program prior to this, like a MPH or something, but they didn't complete the program, but they left the program on their own decision. Would they still need transcripts from that place or not?
So that's an interesting question. We'd probably have to ask our admissions director. So they probably wouldn't be necessary for matriculation into the program because the undergraduate degree is a requirement. But we would probably need to have that just on record. I don't know if there's if any of those credits are transferable. I'm not really sure. We'd probably have to talk to our director of admissions about that.
Right. I agree with that answer. And we would probably want it for our records, but not necessarily for admission. And then if there was anything transferable, obviously we would need that transcript.
Who would I contact if I had to ask that question?
Let me get you that information. I'll put that in the chat for you. Her name is Jessica McGuire, and that's pretty easy. Okay. Sorry, it's a McGuire. I spelled it wrong. I think
it looks right.
Did I? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So I would ask her that question.
Yes, I would ask her that question again. Just to confirm, I don't believe it's required. It wouldn't be required for admission, but just double check with her.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you.